Hello there everyone and welcome back. It's time to play with some good old fun old orcs. And hell, I gotta say, I've been having a good time with them surprisingly. You figured with them potentially being the slowest and the least maneuverable of the fleet, or at least of all 12 factions rather, you think I would be having a difficult time with them. Nope, I've been having a good time with them and there's a lot of nuances to take in, especially when, as it's made apparent here, we got ourselves a new patch, which if all goes well, I'll hopefully have a video out talking about all the changes and all the specifics related to that. But for now, let's focus on some orcs, since really, almost nothing was changed with orcs specifically, aside for the fact that the ramming damage was increased, and that may subtly be a nice little buff for orcs, considering they have the most hit points, and if the mechanics are similar to how they were in Armada 1, the amount of ramming damage you do is strictly based on the actual hull hit points you have on the ships themselves, so when you consider the fact that orcs just naturally have more health than everything else, they're going to be doing a lot more ramming damage. The only one that could beat that apparently would be the Imperial Navy, and that's simply because of all the spurs that they have. Let's not even talk about the potential upgrade they have that increases their ramming damage, good god. But nonetheless, it seems pretty good for me in this regard. Only thing I'm not happy with, not really happy with, it's more like I'm not going to benefit from, is the fact that I don't have a battleship in this fleet. I have 2 battle cruisers, single terror cruiser, and then just rest is like rocks and light cruisers and a couple frigates. A nice well-rounded group, I want to argue. It's going to be interesting when you consider the fact I'm going to be utilizing Commando Training. I basically have Shroud for all my orc ships. Just when you thought they couldn't get any worse, huh? If you've had a bad time with them already. Now just imagine I'm playing like Tyranids. That's the strategy I'm going for. With Stasis Bomb and Plasma Bomb in hand, don't know how practical this will be, mind you, since I've been having a tricky time with the stasis bombs actually hitting, but it dawned on me, I don't need to use the stasis bombs to actually deal with, or at least hold ships in place. If I'm facing off against like Space Marines or even the Tau, I could just use the stasis bombs to hold the seeker missiles in place and let the few fighters I have, or even my point defense, just shoot them down a little more freely. That is the thought process I haven't really put to practice, if I were to be so honest. But aside for actual upgrades, we got Tractor Cannon, the Shock Attack Cannon, and the Nova Cannon. All of these you pretty much recognize from Armada 1. The only difference is the Nova Cannon is actually what? 3 different shots that are all weaker. It just doesn't say anything about the fact that it's actually 3 different shots as opposed to a single one. And they all scatter randomly away from each other. So it's an interesting dynamic, needless to say. Same kind of potential, and it definitely makes it, I want to argue, a lot more reliable to actually hit your target because your AoE is randomly moving around. You're just not going to be hitting very hard would be the catch there. And the Tractor Cannon, as I've learned during my stream over the weekend, this has the potential to completely negate like a Wraithbone Shift or a Rush if you time it properly. Not only will you pull them back at the same rate as normal, but they will lose their one main ability to get away from you, which is actually kind of convenient. Only reason I'm not fielding these 3 weapons is there's a little bit of an interesting bug, which may have been fixed, mind you, that kind of gives away not only where your flagship is, because it'll have the weapon visuals appearing out in the middle of space, but it also, the humorous glitches actually shows up on your enemy's flagship during the preview screen at the very start, which is a little bit humorous, but it kind of gives away the stealth strategy if I'm kind of giving away where my flagship is at all times, especially if I have no way to know if my opponent is actually using that against me. It would be great for baiting, but this will require a little bit of experimentation to see if that's actually practical. Never mind the fact this may have been fixed, so that's not a big deal. Otherwise, the WOG is simply put, it basically gives you a guaranteed, 100% increased chance to critically hit, which considering how the larger capitalist ships function with, I didn't realize it before this patch, mind you, is that the larger the ship is, like a battleship or a battlecruiser, it's able to be more resilient to critical hits, so don't take this 100% with a grain of salt. It just increases it to, 110%, judging by the orc stats, mind you. It helps if I picks up a board. Yeah, it would technically be 110% minus whatever the ratio would be, based on what you're boarding. Otherwise, everything else is pretty generic. Supercharged force shield, beacons, and interestingly enough, if you change the sub-faction, this last upgrade here, which used to be my Commando trait, will switch over to something else based on the faction you pick, and there's one for every single faction, or sub-faction rather. It's just a shame that there's no custom skill, kind of like with Chaos, mind you. But at least every single one of these sub-factions have their own upgrade, whereas Chaos was only limited to like the primary worshippers of each of the Chaos gods, like Death Guard, was it Thousand Suns and all them. So otherwise, let's go over the upgrades quickly. You already know about the Ignore Asteroid Belts. Scavenging Fast, this is kind of interesting. It generates health on your ship there if you're focused on heavy boarding. And the reason this isn't really interesting is keep in mind, if they try and reactivate one of their ships and you just board it again, especially with boarding torpedoes or even something else that can help conveniently kill it without wasting a valuable charge, then you're getting health back multiple times potentially on a single ship. I don't know how practical it is, but it sounds enticing when you think of the other boarding upgrades that are available. Extended range. For some reason, Orks have the Seeker missiles, or what is it? The Marker Lights, whatever the upgrade is for Tau that allows them to do damage based on the point defense. You think this would be less practical for Orks since they have less point defense in general for their flagship. But it's amusing nonetheless since it kind of suits them. Lots of thrusters. This is only for like your battleships. And I believe this also affects the rocks, or at least the Mega Rocks, which is the battleship equivalent. Not sure on that, I haven't really tested it if I were to be so honest. Super Sappers, you remember this from Armada 1, 50% chance to bypass holofields and shields. And interestingly enough, the slow effect for your saps doesn't really state that it needs to hit the hull, it just has to hit the ship if you want to slow them down. So this potentially has a lot of really good kiting abilities, and I think it's been squandered heavily for a lot of Ork players in Armada 1. Since how it functions in Armada 1 is you just get a cumulative stack for the shocking sap. So if every single one of your ships hit with the sap at once, then it reduces it to like a ridiculous, like they're only moving 20 units speed or something even less than that. Whereas you should be trying to stagger your saps to consistently get the half speed reduction. Since I would argue it's a bit of a diminishing return if you were going to use all your saps at once. If you really want to catch up on something, that would be my advice if you're going this route. Otherwise, Wog Song, Rally now makes my Orks immune to morale loss over 30 seconds when activated. This is what I'm going to be utilizing to help keep my Orks in line. Considering they are the most ravenous bunch of all these factions, they're the most vulnerable to morale loss. With what, minus 50 modifiers, so they're basically, what is it? The upgrade here alone, the 500 morale loss with this assassin, just basically means I'm taking 750 morale loss instead just for being Orks. I don't need to tell you how annoying that will be to immediately lose almost all my morale instantly to a single lightning strike. Never mind the fact that I probably will lose a lot of morale just for everything else that's shooting at me at the same time. So this would be useful in that regard, never mind the fact that I'm going to be in the thick of the fighting and keeping things in line is going to be key with all the mega cans I'm utilizing. Shield regeneration, nothing exciting there. They could keep their stances interestingly enough, so these ones are clever, aren't they? And otherwise, oh, I didn't even look at all the other unique upgrades. The basic Ork Pirates, this is the generic faction, has the upgrade, the now buffed extended sensor range for all your ships. Well, I take that back, only escort ships and light cruisers, but this is where it gets interesting. Was it the Bad Moons? They get the flash kits. I'm not exactly sure what this means, mind you, since it doesn't show in-game when you launch with the upgrade, but it says it increases it as considering having the upper accuracy step. I don't know if this means they have the same accuracy as like Imperial Navy, mind you, since Orks are really bad at shooting in general, or it just means that it treats everything as firing at like 4,500 unit range. I have no idea what this exactly means, alas. But it would be useful, especially for like the normal 2v2 where you have an expensive battleship or something that can get full value out of this upgrade. Otherwise, I already showed you the Blood Axes and the Commando Training. Let's see, Death Skulls. I looked at this ability and was really confused on its value. It took me a lot of time to really realize what this thing was for, and in truth, it's not for the fleet I've been fielding. This is for boarding torpedoes and lots of boarding options, because think of it, every single boarding torpedo does additional 5 hull points if you can successfully hit with it. It's still a question if it's practical, mind you, doing additional hull point damage for every boarding, but I think that's where it's going to get its most value. Every single torpedo, every single boarding assault craft will do damage to the ship. Again, 5 points is kind of lackluster when you consider a lot of these ships have like over 1,000 health. so it's going to be tricky to get that kind of value, I think. Evil Sons, these were the factions I was trying to remember in my stream before, but they simply put, go faster. Faster rotation speed, which is kind of interesting, and bigger boost bonus for their big red button, which is basically their unique all-ahead full. Nice speed boost and good measure for that. And was it the Goth clan? They just get additional troop points, which for every troop state, I guess it's called. Oh, also increases the critical hit chance, which is kind of minor, but it could pay off over time, I suppose, if you're going heavy in the boarding route. But nonetheless, an additional troop for every ship would definitely be really good if you're going swarm base with lots of light cruisers and frigates. That's where it's most valuable. But with battleships and battlecruisers, maybe not so much, I would argue. But I talked about what I'm upgrading. Oh, you're the wrong clan for one. I want my Commando Training, thank you. But with that all said, the sneaky gets are in. I do have at least 5 fighter squadrons to help deal with the bombers and torpedoes, at least potentially. With my 2 hammers and 1 terror, each feeling like... Oh, never mind. It's the other way around, isn't it? My terror has 2 fighter bays, and my battle cruisers, my hammers, have a single fighter bay. I thought it was the other way around at first. Nonetheless, I have a decent amount of defense there. It's just a matter of what we're up against. And 2 rocks, they're going to serve as basically holding the center of the map. Since, as I realized when we're playing against them as Chaos, they're immune to critical hits. I don't need to tell you how damn durable this makes them, when fire results are like what they're most susceptible to, taking double the damage and all that. Although, they still have gotten fires from probably ridiculous boarding, mind you, so I'm a little confused on how exactly that works. But they're still really damn durable, especially with 83 armor all around, so that's what they're mainly going to be for. Just bullying in the middle of the map while everything else just hangs back and waits for my opponent to do a mistake, ideally. But I talked on long enough. I am excited for a lot of the potential here, especially with ridiculous boarding. It just doesn't seem enticing enough for me, if I were to be honest, but hey, if you can make it work, all the power to you. Regenerate that health. Ooh, we're gonna fight some Eldari, or Drukhari in this case. Interestingly enough, I have yet to fight them in 1v1, so this will be an interesting experience. Especially when you consider that Drukhari were just nerfs, they no longer have lock-ons, what I'm trying to say. So they're not going to have the extended reach that they did before with any of their ships. I don't know if anything else was nerfed, mind you. I just know like the Eldari, the Craft Worlds, and the Corsairs basically were nerfed with their extended range with the 270-degree arc ability, or whatever it's called, the Runic Focus, I think, which I don't think the Drukhari have access to in any form. So this will be, at least it'll make my life a little bit easier, I suppose, if nothing else, but this would be my first real time fighting against them, so let's take this super seriously. Mainly in the case of I want to try and make sure these frigates stay alive to the best of their ability. So just holding fire is probably what I want most. Otherwise, gonna have to be very mindful of these objectives. It's gonna be tricky to kind of grab these safely. So I suppose that's what all my cruisers are going to be here for. I don't really want them all together, if I were to be honest. Especially since how it's deployed them for me. I don't want my flagship over on the left if I'm relying on the rally ability. If I were to be honest. So let's at least spread out a tiny bit. Otherwise, how are we looking at everything with lock-on because the extended range? Except for the rocks. Oh, I haven't even given the rocks group yet. That might be good. But I think we're all set. I'm going to try and push for 3 points and just play as cautiously as I can, especially since we're pretty much seeing everything. 5 ships. I know that is true since Drukhari do not have access to assault running. I just gotta be mindful. Even has a beacon there. So that's gonna be a little inconvenient if I don't dodge that really well. And I should be able to dodge it decently enough, here's hoping, because unless that was a bug and they fix it, that will not stop and it will not deploy itself, which is what I'm hoping for. I don't care if the rocks actually do nothing. Or at least I don't care if the rocks get detected, since they're kind of what I want to get focused down. And I gotta remember, hold fire is really important for these frigates, if I were to be so honest. Otherwise we'll try and grab points, we'll try and get ready to make a play without ideally getting detected. That's the ultimate hope. Get as much value out of this Commando Training as I can. And while I don't have the shields to protect me from asteroid damage, I can use that too, since it'll recover my stealth ability after all. So I'm not too terribly worried. Just don't want to get stuck is the big thing. That would probably be the worst result potentially, since it ruins my ability to hide. Otherwise, yeah, these frigates need to kind of stay with everything else. They could easily get spotted if I'm not careful. But only one rock's been spotted, which is kind of like the best case situation I want to argue. These rocks can be a little bit tricky because look at that acceleration on there. They're not very nimble, but they're good at holding a point, if at least. Well, I can at least vouch for that much. But if I can get the jump on, that's good, but realistically, probably not going to happen. I just need frigates ready for who knows what. This rock, if anything, is going to kind of spot them for me. And I'm hearing a Drukhari somewhere over on the right. Alright. Come on. Oh, really? Are you going to be this unoriginal?
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Here we go.
This could get ugly, though. Just a little bit. But if I could do the damage needed with these mega cannons, that would be pretty good. But I still have more frigates at bay. And this rock could just grab this point. And do the damage needed, that's the main thing. And ideally, break their engines is the big important thing here. They're all battleships, mind you, so this will be a little bit tricky still. But we're doing good damage. My boost is going to trigger momentarily. So crippling these things is key, since it's only 3 battleships. Let's keep that in mind. 3 battleships is not a huge threat when they're already at half health. Now, can I do the damage necessary, though? Do you really have ramming blades? You do have ramming blades. You're kind of doing me a bit of a favor here. I did lose my flagship, so let's rally everything and destroy the rest of these fleets. Now, do you have damage engines? They both have damage engines. This is going to be a very anticlimactic battle. And actually, let's board. I do have brace for impact, or I did have brace for impact for everything that could brace for impact. Now, let's finish this up. I'm just going to grab points for crying out loud. My rocks did absolutely crap in this match because of the weird maneuver my opponent decided to do, going kind of into the back door and try and snipe the potentially easy frigate kill. You don't have engines, so let's spread these out. It's only 1 battleship with no engines, keep in mind. I just gotta maximize my firepower is what it really comes down to. You can't board. You, however, can. And it will repair at some point soon, so let's keep that in mind. No, I didn't want retros, I just want to turn off your hold fire, which is kind of the whole reason for you. Gotta be mindful of morale, though. Wow, there was some latency for you. I did just pop morale, unless the deck may have gotten destroyed. That might have been what happened there. But otherwise, let's just grab these points. This is pretty much over already. I just gotta get a good hit in and be mindful of my morale, since I think I'm actually trying to focus my deck down. Oh, 9 seconds to the booster. I thought it was up at the moment. Otherwise, I think it's just 1 frigate left. Well, like I said, that was entirely unoriginal. I'm a little bit disappointed. I know if you're one of those people that suffered horribly or kept losing against Drukhari, you're probably still happy for this victory. But wouldn't it feel so much better if my Drukhari opponent actually played properly, a proper game, and not this all battle cruisers or battleships all the time? That would be my argument, at least. But relish in this victory nonetheless. Alright, Space Marines. This might actually be a tough fight depending on what they're fielding. For this was one of the closest matchups I had when I was preparing with Orks, and that's mainly due to the sheer amount of boring torpedoes. Mind you, the one Space Marine I played up against was all strike cruisers with a handful of hunters, so the boarding torpedoes was at its most ridiculous potential, and even then, a battle barge might be really difficult to deal with just because of the bombardment cannons and all that, but at least it'd be a lot more manageable as opposed to what I faced off against. I just gotta be really mindful of the 83 armor. That's gonna be a pain, so I'll take my time. Ooh, it's a fan too. I hope I can at least give him a good time with this match, if nothing else. And I hope I'm not embarrassing you, depending how this match goes. In all honesty, I may want to go over to the left, grab these 3 points. Even though I have stealth, I don't have the mobility to kind of get my frigates back over here safely. I could actually go with the Ravager. The Ravager would actually be really good against, like, a Space Marine frigate because of the torpedoes ignoring armor. So I'm going to try my fleet formation tiny bit different. Well, actually, I want my rocks over there and then my frigates to go here, ideally. The Ravager on its own may be a mistake, but hey, if it does get swarmed by cruisers or something, at least it's only a single frigate and not a huge issue. It just remains to be seen if I'm dealing with a lot of light cruisers to make that additional scanner valuable or not. And I gotta remember, dang it, that was kind of stupid. Oh. Well, it was a pretty tight matchup. At least the one Space Marine I played up against. Again, if I see the boarding torpedoes coming early, I could just launch my fighters or use the stasis bombs to kind of hold them in place to an extent. So it's not too terrible, I just gotta make them burn charges. Otherwise, everything looking good here. I think we're as ready as we're gonna be. Let's get this done. Oh, it's a solid... Okay, it's a light cruiser fleet. That's fine by me. That's fine by me. I just gotta keep tight formation and be ready for potential boarding. I almost don't want to go over here with my one frigate if I were to be so honest. The more ships I have together, the better. With that said, do I actually spread out? I'm just wondering how I should do this here. Since without a doubt we're dealing with frigates and light cruisers. What kind of light cruisers is the big question. I know every single one of the Vanguards at least have Thunderhawks available to them. I'm just wondering what would be most practical. The bombardment cannons? Maybe? At least they have the most longevity. Since boarding torpedoes you only get 3 charges and that's pretty much it. And I gotta be mindful of... I'll take my time with this. And if it is only a frigate that I encounter, my Ravager would actually be pretty good. To an extent, the torpedoes ignore armor, or at least will do more damage than, like, say, my Savages with its heavy cannons at least. So there's always that. Now I'm just gonna focus on these points. These 3 points are probably the most valuable to me, and if I can maybe secure this 4th one, that's pretty good. Alright, you got 2 rocks. Now I'm gonna pay close attention to any fighters, anything of the nature. I gotta keep in mind their slow acceleration, mind you. That would be the only catch there. Huh. Emperor's Turret there. Well, I guess it's I wonder... Oh, just to mark it in case I stealth again. If anything, probably should have marked the right one. Since I'm closer to an asteroid belt or gas cloud of that sort. Anyways, we got a point here. I gotta keep a sharp eye for someone trying to steal the objective here. Be ready to at least micromanage that. Alright. Shoot down these. I was hoping to turn this. It is actually shooting down torpedoes. It's still going to take a little bit of damage, but... And I already used the charge. I should have launched my fighters too, to be fair. But... He gave away his... Oh, boarding torpedoes on both of them. Okay, that's fine. Just 1 charge of torpedoes. This may be the best value out of them so far. I just wasn't paying attention much just yet. What else was spotted? Just the one little ship. Okay, hunters. This is fine. Let me just repair and get rid of these fire assaults before they become a little bit too... Huh. That's interesting. Oh, it's probably because of threshold that was just done on damage.
Here we go.
Alright. We'll just take our time here. Let's not get too carried away. I do have fighters, after all.
You want us over there?
And okay, as I said, I do have fighters, so that would be shot number 2.
Yeah. Hold on to something. You want us over there?
Huh. This is an odd little setup. I do have fighters, and they shot down almost all the torpedoes. And it did give away what my fighters are, but hey. Why not just launch more fighters? This is my strongest defense. I was a little bit hesitant to launch them before, and hell, if I had waited...
What you want?
This is really weird build, but again, my priority is these 3. Make good use of these fighters is the main thing. They are my strongest weapon, and I plan on utilizing them to their fullest.
The fight is over here.
Especially if I could kill these things quickly, because, oh yeah, they have Untitled Chapter, but I don't think Untitled Chapter actually does anything.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Just kill these things,
Boy, the ship's got holes in it.
and keep an eye on these torpedoes coming up. We'll take our time with this.
Got it.
Slow and steady wins the race. I have fighters.
Of course it went back
I might as well brace for impact. I should brace for impact as well.
The enemy has accumulated 25%.
Again, the rocks are kind of doing the one thing I want most of them if they're going to burn off all these fighters. Especially now that I can boost away. Just watch. These rocks are like potentially the worst targets just because I could boost at 360 degrees. I just don't have the fighter numbers I want to reliably shoot these down. So these are still going to do their damage.
You ain't a boss of me.
But again, the second salvo done there. Maybe even a third salvo.
Orks.
Let's...
We's ready.
Oh, you're a mutiny? Well, let's fix that.
You got it.
Let's fix this.
You got it, boss.
Gotta be mindful of spraying out, but this is good strength. Let's just not get cocky.
Fire bombers. Begin taka-taka.
Okay, took a little bit of troop damage. I don't know what's left yet, mind you.
Enemy ship sight.
Oh, and they are actually doing troop damage at this point, interestingly. Alright. Let's group these up.
Move that junk. Orks is best.
Now, if I could keep these from running and do some good damage, that's good for me.
Taking damage, boss. Here we go.
And of course I had the lightning strike at a bad time too. But we are killing stuff at least.
Yeah.
And here comes the strike cruisers, okay.
Orks is best.
I do have a lightning strike available, I have this. May have spread it a little bit too much though. That may cost me. Alright.
Fire bombers. Begin taka-taka.
You have seized a strategic
Now let's
area.
prioritize these targets.
Here we go.
I would love to scuttle that thing right now. It is a possibility though.
You want us over there?
I'll just keep one ship to deny.
The
And
fight is
see-
over here.
I still got boarding though. I just gotta make sure these things. As soon as I scuttle this though, they're just gonna cancel or at least boost on out, which probably is not terrible, mind you. But
Is seizing one of your strategic areas.
let's get on close.
You want us over there?
These things are still alive. I just gotta do damage necessary. It's the Honor of the Chapter, I think, that's giving me a hard time right now.
Yeah. You want us over there?
The enemy has seized a strategic
And if anything, I probably just want to lock on and maybe maximize my damage.
Race ready.
So we'll keep you handy for the time being for your morale, your rally ability.
Boss.
I wish I had more frigates to kind of start grabbing points.
Move that junk.
I do kind of still have frigates, but they're kind of isolated right now.
What you want? The
Come on, start moving for me. Oh yeah, everything's round mutiny. This is kind of what I wanted this for,
Points.
to a vague extent.
Enemy ship sighted. You got it. Retro's on. Faster, you grunts.
Alright.
Full speed.
I still have my cooldown available. My engine just got destroyed alas, but can we make this painful? Do I still have boarding? Yes, I do.
Orks is best.
Gotta be mindful of the points, though. I'm losing because of points, so dang it, frigates, get moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where the morale is starting to get hurt tremendously. There's no assassin, mind you.
Got it.
It seemed good in promise. I should have probably launched fighters ahead of time. I just don't know where I would want to launch them, to be honest, at the very beginning.
Move that junk.
It did have promise destroying the frigates ahead of time. And again, I could scuttle with the
Junk.
how clumped up the ships were. It just would immediately get boosted out of. That would be the only catch.
Move that junk. Enemy ship sighted.
Okay, mutiny there.
You want us over there?
Yeah, this looks like it might be a loss at some point.
The enemy is seizing one of your strategic
And I
areas.
expect this not to go well, probably, the scuttle. Yeah, immediately just boosting out.
You want us over there?
That's kind of what was suspected. So it just did not do me any favors to try and scuttle them.
We'll fight another day.
Alright.
Enemy has seized a strategic area.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why you need to be grouped up there. Yeah, lots of mobility in this fleet too. Nonetheless, that's part of the reason why I had difficulty with the Space Marines before there. But the fighters were really good, I want to say. Just need to see them coming. I didn't see the second salvo in all honesty, and that was probably a mistake. If I can wear them well, because as you've seen, the rocks were potentially the worst targets to go after, because I can dodge them and give me some more time to shoot them down. So a little bit of learning there. Felt like it fell apart though. Again, the morale just went down so quickly as well. I wonder what caused all the morale damage. Since I didn't see the assassin, I know the boarding can do a lot of morale damage too. So really, it ultimately comes down to how effectively I can time this. And ideally, make the flagship really difficult to hit if at all possible, since this does not need to be in the front of everything. Again, tricky with the frigates, because apparently they fixed that for Untitled Chapter. I think it was what was going on. Does do some troop damage now, which is like an ability all the ships have access to, which is tied into the repairs and the called arms ability. It had a chance of doing critical hit damage, but I guess it does troop damage now as well, maybe? Or it could have been the boring torpedoes, hard to say. Alright, Imperial Navy this time. So this is going to be a good old slug 'em out type of fight, I'm going to assume anyway. The Imperial Navy has the better superior mobility with their high energy turns, so their torpedoes are going to be dangerous. And I'm going to have the raw firepower. Unless my opponent's using Nova cannons, that could be a possibility. Let's hold on to that option. But if I can get in close, my mega cannons are going to be really potent, sure. He likely has armor-piercing rounds, but at the same time, if he's utilizing those macro cannons at point-blank range, my mega cannons are basically that much more effective. So it kind of equals out if I were to be so honest, so I'm not too terribly concerned about the armor-piercing rounds themselves. Otherwise, it could again be Nova cannons, in which case, I gotta be really smart with that possibility, since the flagship is almost the obvious target to go after. I would argue at least, since it would hurt my morale so much, but if I can maybe get out of its range, force them to burn, hell, there's a lot of things I'm going to need to figure out in that regard. Since the range is 2,500, if I can get far enough behind the rest of my fleet to maybe, if he really wants to kill a flagship, he would have to fly into the rest of my fleet, the idea is. In which case, I kind of already know what I can do there in that regard. Since I have so much hit points as well, it's going to take a while for him to actually cripple this thing, let alone kill it. Let's get this going though. Let's see if we can redeem ourselves for that one loss. Okay, this looks possibly like what I think it is. Nothing but Nova cannons. It has that possibility at least. And it's okay. My hammers only have one fighter bay. I may give away where one of my ships are, but the others could be anywhere. And I should hang back the flagship a tiny bit just in case, since you never know when my opponent may actually try and fixate on this. And plus, with its AoE morale, or AoE with the buff to rally, it would be pretty good to keep things in line. Oh, and I'm in Asteroid Belt, aren't I? Okay, that's fine. I kind of thought I had been prepared for that, but I guess not. This is what I'm guessing. 5 Dominators, maybe? Would be my guess. They're all... okay, there's with a single frigate, potentially. And I do have fighters going out. They're probably not going to spy anything since my opponent's already spraying out his fleet. So that's fine. I'll get them back in time. I just don't want to go too far forward to get these things detected needlessly. It's the rocks that are supposed to draw the fire. And you're just going over to the beacon, it looks like. Which I'm fine with. We'll use rocks again for that. They're supposed to be the main deterrent after all. And hell, frigates would be a perfect way to go in there too. They're just going to get shot up a tiny bit to catch.
Enemy ship sight.
You have seized a strategic area.
Oh, so yeah, 2 Dominators, that confirms my theory. So flagship stays hidden. Ideally close enough so it can still contribute, but keep this thing alive, and if he does try and focus on it, then I'm at least far enough away to maybe benefit off that. I gotta keep in mind. That beacon's still going though, so I am gonna get detected to an extent. So if anything, I'll probably plan on turning one of my ships around. With that said.
Orks, orks, orks.
I was kind of hoping that beacon was going there. So you see one Basha, I'm waiting to see what you do. What you try to pull. Since I'll pretty soon have potentially 3 points here, so I'm not all that worried just yet. Gotta watch for the Nova cannons since I am kind of clumped up a bit. Which can be a little bit awkward.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Alright, I can dodge this one at least. The second one, that is. Alright, my opponent is making this a little bit easy for me to dodge the first salvo. I'm gonna cap this easily. Oop, that was not what I wanted. I wanted to brace for impact, but they're immune to critical hit damage, so I'm not too worried just yet. Let me focus on engines. Because if he's going to keep getting closer, then I'm perfectly fine with that. I just gotta be mindful when he does evasive maneuvers. Okay, one of which is not. Oh, that's the Apocalypse. So it's still 5 Nova cannons, mind you. Let's have some fun, shall we? And I gotta make sure my weaponry are fine on the broadside. Which may not be the most convenient, but there goes one Nova cannon. I almost want to ignore you completely. Almost want to ignore you. Yeah, there's a fire result of some kind on my rock. I don't know how exactly that works, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And no armor-piercing rounds, so keep that in mind. Get this Basha brace, so because it's going to take most of the flak here, isn't it? And I got to keep in mind my Ravagers have torpedoes, so I need to manually fire them if they're going to kill a frigate effectively. Which you're the Ravager, so let me get you out range and then turn around, basically. Alright, this is looking good. Basha's about to die pretty soon, but the rocks, you can see they're worth their weight. They still have plenty of armor, even with, or plenty of health, even without the brace for impact. And you are going to be dead shortly. I think that much is certain I could have boarded you. Hell, I'm just going to do a strafing run and just board and kill you. By all means, go ahead. I fear not the will of the Nova Cannon. So you broke morale. You're too far away for a flagship. And apparently we crippled 2 of these ships. One of which lost a Nova Cannon, so win-win in my book. And the rocks are still going. They could board. I guess I could always do that. I'm a little bit neglectful. Oh, they're both Ravagers. For some reason I thought they were, one of which was a Savage, so I messed up with my deployment a tiny bit with the frigates. Since I like one being heavy guns, so that way it can just soften them up, or at least get the killing blow if I hit properly with the torpedoes. In which case, let's see, does this hit? I got a hit and it was very crap for damage. Alas, probably because of brace for impact? No, just not running, so what? That thing's pretty durable, I suppose, for only have 400 health. Let's finish this off. This is not at all going to be challenging. Which, it's a bit of a shame there. The Space Marine one is as close as it could be to deal with my weakness just due to the low morale seemed like was a bigger issue and not so much the troop damage, if I were to be honest. I had enough ships if I used it properly to just keep on boarding. Never mind the fact that I have assault boats to kind of board as well. So I would argue the morale was the bigger issue there. And I think the Space Marine in my last match was also fixated on my deck too, which would do a lot of morale damage when those get destroyed. So that's probably what happened there. I could have done that better. It's a learning experience though. I only played one match and it was pretty damn close to what my Space Marine match was there. They were just a little more aggressive about it. So it is possible I could win, and even then I was doing... In the Space Marine match I won, I did a horrible job with fighters, I think, too. Even more so than I did with the last match, so I feel like there's some possibility. It's going to be interesting, because again, I need to know the nuances of the... was it? Untitled Chapter ability, which is what the Space Marine has. Since I recall, it says not do any... Yeah, troop damage 0, so maybe I'm misunderstanding what happened there with the hunters. I could be wrong there. They could still do critical damage, mind you, without a doubt, but I have yet to actually play any real matches with Space Marines, so I'm not entirely certain. So once I play them, maybe I'll have a better idea on how to deal with that as Orks.